Today's storyline promises to be fun, interesting, and terrifying. We will explore phobias, our fears that have arisen due to various life circumstances. It is important to know your phobias so as not to panic in unexpected situations. So get ready for a phobia test. I will show you various video clips or neural network generated images, and you follow your feelings. If what you see on the screen causes you anxiety or discomfort, it may be worth checking for the presence of a phobia. This will help avoid unpleasant surprises in the future. Excuse me if artificial intelligence sometimes mispronounces the names of phobias, making them sound like cough medicine names. Let's get started.
Acrophobia is an irrational fear of heights that can occur even at the thought of heights or when viewing photographs of high places. This fear can manifest in different forms, from the fear of standing on high balconies to avoiding elevator rides in high-rise buildings. Acrophobia is often caused by a previous traumatic experience, such as a fall from a height, although sometimes its nature remains unclear. Interestingly, the fear of heights has evolutionary roots, as our ancestors avoided heights to increase their chances of survival. Research shows that people with acrophobia may significantly overestimate the height of objects, which only intensifies their fear. For example, a bridge that may seem not very high to an average person may appear extremely dangerous to someone with acrophobia. On the other hand, the fear of heights is probably the most common fear among people.
Interestingly, acrophobia is not felt on an airplane. For planes, we have aerophobia, but that's not as interesting. I have a better option for testing.
Claustrophobia is the fear of closed or tight spaces. People who suffer from claustrophobia may feel severe discomfort or even panic in elevators, tunnels, airplanes, or even small rooms without windows. This fear can significantly limit their daily lives, causing them to avoid situations that trigger anxiety. The roots of claustrophobia are often associated with previous traumatic experiences, such as being stuck in an elevator or being in a stuffy room. There may also be a hereditary predisposition to developing this fear. Interestingly, people with claustrophobia often overestimate the threat of the situation and have heightened sensitivity to confined spaces, causing them to feel a loss of control and helplessness.
This is a really unpleasant phenomenon, and if the images caused you anxiety, it is better to consult a specialist. Do not forget about your loved ones. They may also need help to avoid unwanted reactions in your small apartment, or else you might develop other fears.
Penteraphobia is a rare and specific fear of one's mother-in-law. People who suffer from penteraphobia may experience significant stress, anxiety, and even panic at the thought of interacting with their mother-in-law. This fear can affect family relationships, causing tension and avoidance of family gatherings and events.
Of course, I cannot show you your mother-in-law, but let's test you in another way. Find a photo of your mother-in-law on your phone and look at it. Nothing got wet from fear? No, I have very troubling news for you. You are keeping a photo of your mother-in-law on your phone for no reason. Run to a psychologist before it gets worse. Or to the forest. No, not now. First, check yourself for hylophobia.
Hylophobia is an intense fear of forests or wooded areas. People who suffer from hylophobia may panic at the thought of being in a forest or when in direct contact with such an environment. This fear can manifest in avoiding hikes, picnics in the forest, or even walks in parks with dense vegetation. Hylophobia is often caused by cultural and personal factors. In many fairy tales and myths, the forest is associated with dangers and the unknown, which can influence the formation of fear. Additionally, previous negative experiences, such as getting lost in the forest or encounters with wild animals, can exacerbate this fear.
Are you okay? Are you holding up? What is that buzzing sound? Sounds like Anopheles phobia.
Anopheles phobia is the fear of mosquitoes, particularly Anopheles mosquitoes, which are carriers of malaria. This fear can be quite intense and affect a person's daily life, causing them to avoid places where mosquitoes might be, especially in warm seasons or in regions where malaria is prevalent. The causes of Anopheles phobia can vary. In some cases, it arises from actual experiences with malaria or other serious diseases associated with mosquito bites. This fear can also be triggered by frightening stories or news about the consequences of mosquito bites.
But if you don't have this problem, you can find a quiet clearing in the forest and lie on it, scratching your belly. And do this carefully so as not to encounter omphalophobia.
Omphalophobia is an intense, irrational fear of navels. People who suffer from omphalophobia may feel fear at the sight of their own or someone else's navel, as well as at the thought of touching this part of the body. This fear can be so strong that a person will avoid situations where the navel may be visible, such as on the beach or in the pool. Omphalophobia often has psychological roots related to traumatic or unpleasant events that occurred in childhood. For example, a person might have felt pain or discomfort when touching the navel, leading to the formation of negative associations. Additionally, cultural or religious beliefs can influence the development of this fear, reinforcing it.
So better just relax on the clearing, but not for long, because arachnophobia might catch up with you.
Arachnophobia is a strong fear and aversion to spiders. This phobia is one of the most common in the world and can manifest even at the thought of spiders or when viewing their images. For many people with arachnophobia, encountering a spider can cause panic and the desire to immediately flee. Interestingly, the fear of spiders may be related to the evolutionary need to avoid dangerous animals, as some spiders are indeed venomous. Scientific studies have shown that the brains of people with arachnophobia respond more intensely to images of spiders than to other threatening objects. This may explain why even a tiny spider can provoke such a strong fear reaction.
I had arachnophobia as a child. Then it was replaced by a stronger fear, martinophobia.
Martinophobia is a peculiar and unique fear associated with an orange cat named Martin. A person who suffers from martinophobia may feel intense fear and anxiety when encountering this particular cat, or even at the thought of him. This fear can have various manifestations, from the desire to avoid the room where Martin is to increased heart rate and nervousness at the appearance of his insolent personality. The owner of martinophobia may seek various ways to avoid the cat, even if Martin is friendly and affectionate. This fear may be caused by previous negative experiences with cats or specific traits of Martin, such as his bright orange color or specific behavior. This is a rare phobia. There are not many people who suffer from it.
I've already consulted a psychologist about this problem. I took my cat Martin with me for illustration. Now both the psychologist and I have martinophobia, and our shoes smell the same. But we digress. You are now in the forest and you feel good and pleasant. Just watch the sky to avoid ombraphobia.
Ombraphobia is the fear of rain. People who suffer from ombraphobia may feel significant discomfort, anxiety, or even panic during rain or at the thought of it. This fear can manifest in avoiding going outside during rainy weather, constantly monitoring the weather forecast, and preparing for possible rain. Ombraphobia can have various causes. For example, it may be related to previous negative experiences, such as severe thunderstorms, floods, or traumatic events that occurred during rain. In some cases, ombraphobia may be part of a broader anxiety disorder where the fear of rain is one of many fears.
I definitely don't have it. Cat Martin doesn't check the weather when he kicks me out onto the balcony, so I'm lucky here. Although another problem turned up.
Nomophobia is the fear of being without a mobile phone or losing connection with it. This is a relatively new form of phobia that has emerged in the modern world, where mobile phones have become an integral part of our lives. People who suffer from nomophobia may feel severe discomfort, anxiety, or even panic when their phone runs out of battery, they forget it at home, or lose signal. The causes of nomophobia can vary. It is often caused by dependence on constant access to information, communication, and social networks. Modern technologies have created conditions where many people feel incomplete without a mobile phone, which intensifies the fear of being cut off from the digital world. Interestingly, nomophobia can have serious consequences for mental health and daily life. For example, people may feel a constant need to check their phone, even during important events or meetings, which can disrupt their personal and professional relationships. Additionally, prolonged dependence on mobile devices can lead to decreased concentration, productivity, and quality of sleep.
Stress everywhere. To relax a little, you could have a snack and choose what to eat because xanthophobia never sleeps.
Xanthophobia is the irrational fear of the color yellow. People who suffer from xanthophobia may feel significant discomfort or even panic at the sight of yellow objects, clothing, or even the sun. This fear can be so strong that a person will avoid anything yellow, from fruits like bananas or lemons to flowers and cars. Although xanthophobia is quite rare, it can have a serious impact on a person's daily life. For example, a person with this fear may avoid walking on sunny days or feel anxiety in rooms with yellow walls. The occurrence of xanthophobia is often associated with negative associations or traumatic events related to the color yellow, which can have deep emotional roots.
So when offering strangers tea with lemon, be careful. But suppose you're fine with this and decide to eat some cheese. And here comes turophobia.
Turophobia is an intense, irrational fear of cheese. People who suffer from turophobia may feel significant discomfort or even panic at the sight of cheese, its smell, or even at the thought of it. This fear can affect daily life, causing them to avoid products, dishes, and places where cheese might be present, such as restaurants or stores. The causes of turophobia can vary. In some cases, it may arise from a negative experience related to eating cheese, such as food poisoning or an allergic reaction. In other cases, the fear may be caused by cultural or familial influences where cheese is associated with something unpleasant or dangerous. Also, like many other phobias, turophobia may be related to subconscious associations and childhood fears.
No wonder cheese is often consumed as a snack with wine. People are simply afraid to eat it. Without wine, they just cry. They eat and cry. What a surprise. You go out into society and claustrophobia catches you. It often worsens during political elections.
Coulrophobia is the fear of clowns. This fear, though it may seem strange to many, is quite common and can have a profound impact on those who experience it. People with coulrophobia often feel severe discomfort, anxiety, or even panic at the sight of clowns, their images, or the thought of them. The origins of coulrophobia can be varied. Some researchers believe that this fear arises from the unusual and grotesque appearance of clowns, which disrupts the natural perception of faces. Others associate coulrophobia with negative childhood experiences, such as being frightened or having unpleasant encounters with clowns at children's parties. Cultural factors also play a role. Portrayals of clowns as villains in films and literature can reinforce this fear.
That's how we live. No holiday at all. Even birthdays don't cheer but scare. because globophobia awaits us there.
Globophobia is the fear of balloons, which may seem unusual but is a source of real stress for many. A person with globophobia may feel anxiety or panic at the sight of balloons, especially if they unexpectedly pop. This fear often originates in childhood, when the loud sound of a bursting balloon can scare a child, leaving lasting negative associations. Another possible factor is the feeling of unpredictability and uncontrollability associated with balloons, which can suddenly change shape or burst.
And sometimes even a birthday falls on a bad day.
Triskaidekaphobia is the fear of the number 13, which, despite its oddity, is quite common in many cultures. People who experience this fear may avoid any situations associated with the number 13, such as not attending events held on the 13th or avoiding buildings with a 13th floor. The historical and cultural roots of triskaidekaphobia are often linked to superstitions and myths. In many Western cultures, the number 13 is considered unlucky, partly due to religious and historical events. For example, in Christian tradition, the 13th guest at the Last Supper was Judas, who betrayed Jesus. Additionally, some ancient civilizations, such as the Babylonians, avoided the number 13, considering it unfavorable.
But why limit yourself to one number when you can suffer from arithmophobia?
Arithmophobia is the fear of numbers or mathematics. This fear can manifest in various forms, from dislike of math problems and calculations to severe stress or panic at the need to interact with numbers in daily life. People with arithmophobia may feel significant discomfort at the thought of mathematical problems or when performing even simple arithmetic actions. This fear often originates in childhood and may be caused by negative experiences such as difficulties with math in school, poor grades, or negative reactions from teachers and peers. Feelings of insecurity and fear of mistakes can exacerbate this fear, making interactions with numbers increasingly stressful.
And even if you're not a mathematician but a writer, you might encounter the insidious hippopotamonstrosesquipedaliophobia.
Hippopotamonstrosesquipedaliophobia is the fear of long words. The term itself is ironic, as it is one of the longest words in the English language, which can cause additional discomfort in people who suffer from this fear. People with this phobia may feel significant stress and anxiety at the sight or attempt to pronounce long words. The causes of hippopotamonstrosesquipedaliophobia can vary. It is often associated with negative school or social experiences, such as bullying or mockery, when trying to pronounce complex words. This fear can also be related to general anxiety or other speech disorders. For people with hippopotamonstrosesquipedaliophobia, even ordinary situations where long words may be used, such as reading texts or public speaking, can become a source of significant stress. This can limit their opportunities in education, work, and social life.
If you don't have this phobia, which is even scary to name, you can order the most interesting books on this topic. They are, as always, in the first pinned comment. And not only books, I offer you various products related to each of the phobias I talk about here. But let's get back to phobias. Do you see how many troubles have befallen us? But you need to somehow distract yourself. If you don't have bathyphobia, go relax in the pool.
Bathyphobia is the fear of deep water or great depth. People who suffer from bathyphobia may feel anxiety or even panic at the thought of deep water when viewing images of deep bodies of water or when in direct contact with them, such as when swimming in the ocean, sea, or even a deep pool. This fear can have various causes. For some people, it may be related to a traumatic experience, such as drowning or losing control in deep water. In other cases, bathyphobia may be caused by the fear of the unknown, as deep water hides what is at its bottom. It is also possible that this fear is part of a broader anxiety disorder or other phobias, such as the fear of darkness or confined spaces.
But don't stay in the water too long. What if your wrinkled hands trigger trypophobia?
Trypophobia is the fear or aversion to the sight of clusters of small holes or dots. For people with trypophobia, objects such as honeycombs, lotus seeds, porous skin, corals, or even certain types of food can cause intense discomfort, anxiety, and even physical nausea. Although trypophobia is not officially recognized as a medical disorder, it is quite common and can significantly affect the lives of people who suffer from it. The causes of trypophobia may be related to evolutionary mechanisms. Some researchers believe that this fear may be the result of a subconscious avoidance of poisonous or dangerous objects, as many poisonous animals and plants have similar patterns. Others suggest that trypophobia may be related to deep subconscious associations with diseases or infections, which often manifest through skin changes similar to clusters of holes.
Do you see how much chaos humanity carries in their heads? And all this is reflected in communication through the internet, which is then used to train artificial intelligence. It's no wonder that many people feel threatened by the future of artificial intelligence. And since no specific term has yet been invented to name this phenomenon, let's call it AI phobia. But here it's a matter of luck. Fight your phobias and don't suffer from the most important one, cherophobia.
The fear of being happy, known as acrophobia, is a unique and quite paradoxical emotional state. People who suffer from cherophobia may avoid situations that can bring joy or happiness because they fear that something negative will inevitably follow these positive emotions. Cherophobia is not officially recognized as a phobia in medical classifications, but it can significantly impact a person's quality of life. The causes of cherophobia can vary and are often related to previous negative experiences. For example, people who have experienced significant losses or traumatic events after periods of happiness may associate joy with subsequent misfortunes. This can create a subconscious fear of happiness as a protective mechanism to avoid further pain. Cultural and religious beliefs can also play a role, especially if a person grew up in an environment where happiness was considered unattainable or undesirable.
So don't engage in cherophobia and stay healthy. And quickly, while the cat Martin is asleep,